Yeah. Sebastian, you're 18. Is this your first college class? What do you think about college? Yeah. Yeah. Do you find college to be like a bit more interesting than high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Are you single? Do you find yourself ever like being attracted to a college person who's like 3 times your age? How about twice your age? How about just a few years older?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not asking.
That's good, yeah. You have siblings? You like them? Yeah, what can you do?
Do you like your siblings?
Me?
That's a tough question, huh?
No, it takes a long time. I remember there was a breakfast shop in San Francisco. It's closed now. It was by the ocean. It was called, I think, Gary's or something. And I watched these old people come in, this couple. I mean, he was probably 110 and she was like 125.
Three young people.
And you just sit and the guy reads the paper. The woman is just sitting, just looking out the window at the ocean. And when you're young, you don't really understand these things. You think, oh, what a boring relationship, But it really takes a long time to find so much security and comfort, and also indifference. To know that, you can just walk with your companion to a coffee shop and sit without looking at her or him, without talking to him or her, and just be okay. And I think relationships are very much like that. During the early years, let's say you're trying to figure out who you are, what you want to do. There's a good amount of envy between you and your brother or you and your sister. She's graduated, you're still, lagging in so many different areas of life. And so you're just angry. I mean, that's what teenage years are, early adulthood. You're just angry because you want to figure out how to get done with school, how to get a job, how you should treat your girlfriend or boyfriend. And then, you get a job, you're unhappy. You get married and you're unhappy. You have kids, you're unhappy. And you just pick fights with everybody. There comes a point where you begin to understand things a bit better. And then you look at your father differently. You look at your mother differently. You look at your siblings differently. And so I can say that in the past, 35 years, my relationship with my brother has been really, really good. I mean, first, he was 10, I was 11 when we moved to India. And then we came to America. We worked graveyard together, washed dishes together, janitors together. We were maids at Davis Motel together. We washed cars for the next 20 years together, And I go sometimes to his classes to teach. Sometimes he comes and visits me. So, we're both married, for the most part self-sufficient. So it's been really, really good. We've never had a serious conflict. But I do think that it usually takes a while, to kind of figure things out. Yeah. You have siblings, no? And you guys are close? So. They're not like half siblings, they're like full-blooded siblings.
I don't have any full bloods.
Oh, they're all half?
Yeah. But I don't consider them half. Just grow up together, but two of them are half. The rest is just because my father adopted me. So,
Okay.
So I have the one who adopted me.
Good morning.
You can marry English with the
Yeah.
kids. So it's kind of...
It's a little complicated.
Yeah, I think I have 8 siblings. But I'm close
8?
to
2.
Close to 2.
Well, 2 is enough, when you end up at Kaiser, they'll come visit you. What is your name in the back? Yeah. Tree. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Alex, right? Tia, why are you sitting over there?
She doesn't like me. She's trying to stay with me.
Yeah, she wants to leave early.
I know. This one about me. You know?
Hello, Oscar.
I know. She was sitting next to me. This is good. And then she was all the way there. Promise, whatever I do, I won't do it.
I won't do it again. Oscar, you okay?
Catching my breath.
He ran away from you, huh?
Long walk.
Yeah. So, how do you like America? Say your name in German. Really? Do you have any complaints? Hello, Ilham. The weather? Not the people, not the food, but the weather. What a strange thing to say.
There's many restaurants. So you just pick the one you like. If they change your
I think the weather's the best part.
That's what
Right?
I feel you. I grew up in an island in the Caribbean, and I pretty much like it.
This one? You said you have a companion who's also from Mongolia, no? But you want a companion from Mongolia. Maybe? So you don't like your own people? But you're open to possibilities. If they happen to be like Chinese or African American or Persian. Really?
I'm not that open.
No, why? Cultural? Political? But what if the Chinese man that you meet is on your side? That he says, China was wrong in invading and... That's true. So how about someone from like the Arab world, whose name is just Muhammad? They're all named Muhammad. I taught a class, I had I think 7 Yemeni students, all Muhammad. For some strange reason, Yemen had just ran out of names. They named their kids Muhammad and just Omar and Muhammad, Omar. But maybe Elham has some insights as to why. Oscar, where are you from?
Belize.
Huh. Well, I guess that's it for us today. I mean, if you guys have anything you want to talk about, we can wrestle with them.
You talk about your personal life.
Well, if it's interesting, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a very interesting man. But, if you guys have any questions.
The concept of gender, like it's one of those made up things like race. Do you think that it adds, well, first of all, we have like 2 genders, obviously we're playing it out every day, but other countries or cultures have multiple. Do you think that us having the male-female role, do you think it's adding unnecessary stress to people? Or we have to live up to a certain standard when it's made up anyway? Or what's your thought on it?
So there are a couple of ways you can, I suppose, approach the gender issue. It is true that some cultures are more accepting of, say, the homosexual community or the transgender community. America is not one of those cultures. You must also admit that we are not talking about the ancient Greece or Rome or India, where they put a tremendous amount of value on non-binary people, okay? This is the 21st century. America is a land of Puritans, you know. It's like the revision of Christianity. That's what America, at least it's supposed to be, it claims that people moved from England because they had realized that Christianity has become contaminated. They didn't want monarchy, so they came here and democracy and all that nonsense. And for the past 200 and almost 300 years, you know, the homosexual community had to live behind closed doors. It's really only been the last maybe, I don't know, 50 years, and that's being way too generous, where we become a bit more open to various other denominations, you know. You're also talking about adding an additional piece of information to a culture where some of its members may not be ready to receive, some of its members may be ready to receive. Some members, because of their own personal confusion, will adopt, because we are meaning seeker animals. We like meaning, we like belonging, we like validation, confirmation. So you have a bad experience with your parents, and so something psychological happens to you where you say, well, maybe I am gay, or maybe you've gone through 50, 60 different relationships, none have worked out. And then one night, laying on your bed, you say, well, you know, maybe I'm not supposed to be heterosexual. Maybe I'm homosexual, you know. So that in itself is very, very complex. And I don't think there's a single answer, a single perspective, you know. Then there is the complexity of what parents have to go through upon hearing that their child is perhaps non-binary. And then what the kid, him or herself, has to go through when they come to the conclusion that perhaps they don't really fit the structured binary system that we've created, okay? It's only been the last maybe 6, 7 years where everybody supposedly is to write him, they, theirs, it, whatever, you know. And it's an acceptable way to communicate now. It wasn't in play, you know, 5, 6 years ago. It was unheard of, you know. You know, when my kids are very, very young, we used to get emails from some parents saying, my daughter, who's only like a year and a half, has decided that she enjoys being called a he now, rather than a she, you know. And that may be true. At the same time, you know, they are only a year and a half or 2 years old. Give them some time. The idea of ramming this particular set of feelings into her brain and making it like concrete, I think is a little unfair. You know, let people just grow into their own skin and then hopefully figure out who they are and what they are, you know. Parents, I think by their very nature, happen to be mostly conservative because they just want their kids to be safe and secure. Being bullied in school is not fun for parents to witness. And so when a child comes to them and says, Dad, I think, you know, I am not a he, but I'm a she, the parent has to adopt a brand new belief system. And that's tough because it goes against like 20 years of believing a certain thing, and now you have to modify it. If they happen to be religious, you have to modify your religious belief. Then you have to figure out how you want to approach your own parents in telling them, well, you know, don't call her Janet, but call her Jim now, you know. I mean, those are difficult things. And it takes a while for the parents to adjust. And by the time they get to the conclusion, they've gone through lots of ups and downs, lots of anger. I mean, if they don't go nuts and make the kid an outcast, you know, and bully the kid and punish him or her for, you know, whatever he or she wants the identity to be, The next scenario is the kid, themselves. The amount of time it takes for you to figure out what's happening to you, and the amount of energy it takes, and the toll it takes on you psychologically and physically, it's really just quite punishing. And then you have no idea if your parents are going to be accepting, if they're going to be rejecting. So the situation is tough. All I can tell you is the following. I mean, look, you have a husband and you have some kids. It's not most exciting and interesting, but it gives you security. Are you able to find someone who's attractive out there who's not your husband? Absolutely. Will it bring about passion and creativity? Will it make you a poet? Definitely. Is it even valuable for you to feel this part of you that has been, lost because of the politics of life, where you can kind of begin to fantasize about, how love is going to play out in your life? Yeah, it's great. Is it worth risking the security? Probably not, And my kids, as insofar as I know, one is a she, the other is a he. When they were younger, because of just the way this culture is going, she would come to me and say, well, are you sure I'm a she? And I'm not American, I'm from the Middle East. So that question in itself is quite horrifying to me, because it means that as a father, I have to sit back and watch my daughter struggle with identity, something that wasn't the case for the longest time in our culture, And when is the dust going to settle? Is she going to understand and be comfortable when she's 20, when she's 30, when she's 40? After how many relationships gone bad? 5, 10, 15, 20? Do I really want to see my own kids suffer? The answer is no. And you realize that culture has a very, very heavy hand in creating emotions, creating identity. And it's not very organic. It's kind of like, Kim Kardashian begins to wear high heels, this particular brand, and all of a sudden everybody wants to wear that. It's kind of like offensive if I just put a he after my emails. It's now more acceptable to put he, they, them, us, we, they, pan, whatever, Just to kind of, I suppose, to demonstrate that I am very open-minded. And sometimes you realize things just become fashionable and you adopt those fashions. It may not be true for you or to you, but you adopt them nevertheless because you want people to like you. Around I don't know, 1,000 years ago, there was a guy named Rumi. And he said something interesting. He said, there is a reason why we have counterfeits. We have counterfeits because there is a thing called real. You can have a gold-plated watch, and then you can have a gold watch. And that you can have someone like me, a fake philosopher, and you can have someone like Socrates, a real philosopher. And I think that's true in any relationship. You could think yourself to be gay, but that particular kind of position may have to do with your own psychological kind of issues, the things you've gone through, the confusion that exists in all teenage kids. Or it may be that you are genuinely gay. And the truth is, these are things that only time can tell. And hopefully by the time you reach that conclusion, you haven't been severely punished by the people around you. And it's something that Sigmund Freud around the 19th or 20th century talked about. It's tough being in society. It really, really is. You have to deal with people you don't like. You have to deal with people you don't know. And all the things you have to say yes to or no to. Whoever said that you need to come to class to be successful? No one really questions these things. We just say, well, this is what people do. And you come to class, and then you take a class like this, and you get bored to death. And then you ask why, but there are no answers to why. You can drop the class, but then you jeopardize your future and success and happiness. And you realize that you live in a very, very difficult and punishing social structure. And there is no way out, So these gender issues that you're speaking of, some are counterfeit, some are very, very true. Hopefully you have the right parents who will receive you. Hopefully you'll have the right friends who will receive you. Hopefully, should you change your mind that you chose this particular path, but it revealed to you there was a wrong path for you, your parents will still have an open door policy. You can be welcome to their house, and that the changes can sit well on you and for you. I think what kids have to go through these days is something I didn't go through. You didn't go through. Life was, in as much as it had its own set of complexities, it was far more simple. I didn't have to work. I wasn't forced to leave my parents' house at the age of 18. I didn't have money issues. Hello. There was no drugs, no alcohol, no porn. The culture didn't have those things readily available. By the time I was like 14 or 15 or 20, I hadn't gone through 55 relationships. I wasn't psychologically and emotionally damaged. Kids today, Jesus Christ. You have a kid who's like 5 and he's in therapy. Never before in our culture, but all of a sudden it's everywhere. So there are no easy answers. I don't really know what works and what doesn't anymore.
I was thinking from a heterosexual standpoint, like males having to, be manly or take care of the home and all that stuff. Not necessarily take care of cleaning up and stuff, but manage the home, provide for the home. The one that needs to be domesticated, like those type of roles.
Oh, that. Oh, why the hell didn't you stop me like 5 hours ago?
I just want
Jesus Christ. You see? Well, I think if God has made you a woman, your job is to stay home and have babies. That's it. No hands up, no complaints. Isabel, you like that?
No.
Why?
What do you mean why?
Well, I want to know why. It's a ritual and custom they've had for the past many thousands of years. And now in the 21st century, 2026, there's a young woman who says no to a 10,000-year-old culture. May I ask why?
I think I'd rather than do that.
Rather, what?
I don't want to have children. But
What do you mean? I have an oven in my house. It's never turned on. In the past 15 years, it's never been turned on. So I just told my wife I'm taking it out. She says, why? We're not using it. Why is it there? Couldn't you argue that women are like an oven? They bake a cake, i.e. babies?
But it was supposed to be.
Well, wait, Jessica, before you flip, you need to understand, you guys, that beginning with the 18th century, everything about human life turned upside down. Everything. Those are nice nails, Jessica.
things I broke too.
I am so sorry to hear
Yeah,
that.
I know. So they're like,
Be careful what finger you show me.
all right.
Yes, go ahead.
I have an answer.
You have an answer? Please.
Well, okay. First of all.
Of course.
First of all.
Can we start with the second part first?
No. First of all, the woman being, okay, let's take 1950s, the golden age of America, right?
It was actually 1952.
Oh,
But that's besides the point. Go ahead.
right. Oh my God, you're right. 1952 was the golden age of America. And that's when we had all this money from the war, and all of the people who came back from World War II were on GI Joe bills, and houses could actually be attainable by having a regular job. And by having a regular job, it's only the man having a regular job. And the woman had the freedom to not question, how will I provide for my family? Because she knows the man is going to be able to because we live in a certain age. Cut to 2026, shit has hit the fan.
Shit has hit the what?
Fan.
The fan?
Like a fan that with the windows in the back.
And the shit hits it?
Yeah.
And
then,
it spreads everywhere?
Yeah.
So everything is shitty
Uh-huh.
and smelly.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay. No, walk with me here. And
You mean like mentally?
yeah, like you know, see where I'm going.
So if the shit has hit the fan, are you telling me that you have some of it on you?
I do.
And me too?
Yeah.
We're both smelly?
I don't know about you, but because you're ancient, but like
I'm
us
ancient.
people- no, us people who are like living in the current age.
2026, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, fine,
Like
fine.
women, not only we are technologically advanced to such a point that we have never been before as a world and as a society. And there's not much yet for us humans to discover. So it has given us freedom and like more knowledge to be able to
Agreed.
have everybody wanting to like go out and find their own futures for themselves. That's one thing. But also the economy demands that one man cannot suffice for a household anymore.
Well,
One
it
job.
depends where you find the man.
That's true, but most men. Okay, this isn't a jab at men, but most men aren't gonna be freaking like.
Most American men.
Okay, most American men
There you go.
aren't gonna be like bringing home the 200-300.
Well, find the Yemenis man.
You're right. Like
He'll provide for you. You don't have to work.
I should.
You can just sit home and watch TV all day
I should.
and wash dishes and vacuum.
However, you have to accept that part. Like you have to bring in that part. For,
It's true. I agree with you. You're right. Yeah.
That's my.
Okay, it's good. Yeah.
What if women is just more than just a washing machine or a oven? They are complex beings. They have desires. They have belief. They have more than that things that we did not consider in the past.
Look, my kids have desires. You have to trim them.
And what if some of these desires are like influenced by the culture?
It's
And
true.
what if this culture influences the people doing they take over the system?
It's very, very, very true. You guys have made some very good points. I accept. I was wrong. I'm going to go home and tell my wife to go out there and get a job. But then who's going to take care of the kids? Because I'm not home.
Well, I don't know.
If the dynamic works, you're like able to do it. I don't think that it's a crime.
It is a crime. What do you do without any scripts? If you don't know what your role is, what do you do? I'm not just talking about marriage and relationships. I'm just in
Just like an ancestral humans, considering that what would you do if there was nothing?
no. Look. Do you have a dishwasher in your place?
Yes.
Well, do you like put the cups on the top in an orderly way? Do you put the plates?
I'm lying, I'm not used to it. So I just
I used to be very much like you. Then I realized there is a reason why technology is there. It makes life simpler, easier, cleaner. I mean, in Iran, we used to have these straw brooms, and now you have Dyson. We used to till the ground with donkeys and horses and camels, and now we have tractors. You used to walk barefoot, now you have shoes. You used to ride on donkeys, now you have the aeroplane and the cars and the bikes, electric bikes too. I guess the point I want to make is this. It is true that when your companion goes out there and gets a job, financially, you're a bit more stable, a bit more secure. provides a bit more comfort to your physical life. Are there any losses to that? Besides time, what else?
I mean, when I say time, it's
Do you know that about 75% of affairs take place at workplace? 75%. Now, is it true that relationships are boring? Ask her, she'll tell you yes. I mean, not boring like you want to trash the relationship. It's just, just comfortable.
maybe you do not use to it. There's people who find the chaos like something attractive. And there's other people who find the peace as something attractive. So it depends on people.
No. I mean, you have to be profoundly cultural and tamed and domesticated to find someone attractive and say, you know what? I can't do this. I'll give you an example. My mom wanted to learn how to cut hair, So she goes to this school.
Take that personal.
Yeah. So she goes to school, and all of a sudden, this man, as a student comes in, and the teacher says, well, Ms. Sabzavari, can you please cut his hair? And my mom looks at the teacher and says, no, I can't do that. Why? He's a man. Give me a woman. I'm not going to touch a man who's not my husband. Now, that's like old school stuff where you don't find anymore. It's like dinosaur stuff now, right? And the point I'm trying to make is, what do you do with all the new things that enter your life? For example, the kids no longer being able to see two parents as often as they used to. It is true you have a bigger house now. It is true that everyone lives in their own bedroom. One of the things about technology, heaters, air conditions, and big houses and bedrooms is the following. Before, 10 people had to sit around the dinner table and eat food together. You look at each other, you talk to each other, physically you're close. Now you just pick up your plate and go to your room. And you're not going to suffer from freeze or heat because you have central heat and air. And all of a sudden, it is true that air condition has helped you, but it also creates isolation.
Sounds like recipe for depression.
And that's the point. At what stage do you come to realize that perhaps certain advancements or certain options in life, in as much as they can make your life profoundly prosperous, they could also be harmful? I mean, you need to be profoundly insightful and knowledgeable with a good amount of experience behind you to say, you know what, it is true if I was to move from point A to point B, hello Matt, I can make like $1 million, but the truth is I won't be able to see my wife as much, my kids as much, and maybe you just don't care and that's fine. Oliver. Elham.
I'm still thinking about the question
What question?
about
Oh, vacuums? Washing.
the standard of like women and I wanted to review it.
I just want the society or the idea of gender, because that's something else that's made up. Race didn't exist, gender is like it's made up. You know what I mean? So, but like, men are supposed to be working and providers and whatnot, and women are supposed to be cleaning, taking care of kids, washing dishes. I don't conform to any of that. I mean, I did it in my first marriage. It was like, but really, do I like to do it? No. But my husband loves to cook. He was raised cleaning. He'll get up and just boom. But a lot of times
Can
in
I say
society,
something?
That's so awful.
we're-
I need to talk to your man. I'm just kidding.
without saying it, such a done already. Like without
I mean, look, number one, race did exist.
make you feel crappy. I'm sorry.
America is the only place where so many people from so many different parts of the world come to it, which means that if this place had been dominated by white people, if you as a brown man or a black man enter this country, your culture is not going to be received well. You have to assimilate. In other words, you have to lose your language, you have to lose your culture, you have to lose your religion. And though on the outside you're brown, inwardly you need to have white philosophy. I mean, it's something that Malcolm X talked about, field slave and house slave. Okay. Now, prior to this time, you go to Iran, everybody's Persian. You go to Africa, well, everybody's African and everybody's black. Well, some parts of it, right? You go to India, everybody's Indian. Now, time passes, and all of a sudden, you realize a neighborhood that occupied like 50,000 brown people like me now has a few black people, a few white people, a few yellow people, a few red people. Now, all these people have a culture. They have their own unique language. They have their own set of customs and rituals. And they all want rights. I want to have a school where the teachers and the textbooks speak my language, talk about my culture. And so the dominant culture has to make a decision. Do you want to give brown people the right to have their own school? I mean, look at Chinatown, not too far from here. All the street names are in Chinese. If you want to open a shop in that part of the town, they have their own, council members.
Sorry.
It's okay, And so this idea of diversity, this idea of inclusion, it just didn't exist. It's a brand new thing. It's like this binary stuff that we talk about. Is it working? I think it's working on a very, very superficial level. I mean, I'm not interested in your culture. Look, I'm not interested in your culture and you're not interested in mine. I mean, I can perhaps speak a couple of words here and there. I can maybe dibble-dabble with the food that you guys have. I can maybe go to a party that you once in a while throw, but I'm not going to be a student of your culture. I don't give a shit about it. And it doesn't mean that I am out there wanting to disrespect who and what you are and your heritage. That's not my point. The point is to get to know anything well enough, first you have to be interested. And you have to be interested enough to invest time in it.
Do you think all cultures are compatible?
No. I mean, look, I think if you happen to have come from the Middle East, you don't call to come into our house. You just knock on the door and you come in. If I was to do that to some of my American friends, they say, what the hell are you doing here? Did you call me? Did you text me? I have no idea who you are. And so you realize, well, there are certain lines you can't cross in certain cultures, okay? Like if I come to your house with my wife, you can't look at my wife. You can shake her hand, maybe, you can say hello, but you can't gaze into her eyes. That's just culturally inappropriate, okay? Some of the, for example, if you guys have read the syllabus on the very top or near the top, I say, if you want to email me, send me a greeting, because that's what we do. I call my mom, I disconnect, I call her a second later, I'll go through the whole spiel again. Mom, hi, how are you doing? How's the family? Your health is okay? You just called me a second ago. Do we need to go through this? And the answer is, well, yes, that's what we do. Here, I have my bosses who are 10, 15, 20 years older than I am. But they're not from my culture. There is no hi. There is no how are you, nothing. It's very savage-like. It's the most basic things that you should know. It's just not there. Now, if your question is, am I going to waste my time sitting with someone and telling them this is the best approach to interacting with someone? No, I just don't care. So this idea of inclusivity, this idea of diversity, I think on a very, very superficial level, it works. But if you were to go deeper, it won't work. First because I'm not white. And there is a privilege to whiteness that maybe even white people don't know that they have. I'm brown. And politics has labeled me as a terrorist. So I have to prove to everybody that I'm relatively decent and civilized, that I mean no harm. I have to prove that. I mean, look, I walk around campus every single morning for about an hour just to make sure that my heart doesn't collapse. I need to have my documents with me. Why? Just in case I get stopped. Now, you think Matt is going to experience that? Of course not. you know. And so the point I'm trying to make is really nothing. Is it true that some men enjoy, doing work? Absolutely. Is it good? Definitely. Is it true that some women want to go out there and just join the workforce? Yeah. Is it good for them? Yeah. Is it good for the family? Absolutely. But I think it's also valuable to be aware that this place down here, it's a man's world. It's been created by men. Religions, by men. Philosophies, by men. Everything down here made by men. And examine the nature of men. We are vicious, we are immature, we are corrupt, we are greedy, we are lustful, and we are violent. And this is the world you want to enter, which means the following. If you want to survive this world, made by men, occupied by men, guided by men, you need to adopt some of the masculine emotions. In other words, if you want to participate in this world, you need to be as lustful, as greedy, as competitive, and as violent and deceiving and cunning, conniving as a man is. And let's say you're able to do that, and you make tons of money, and your husband is very happy. But here's the problem. When you deal with masculine emotions for too long, they become part of who and what you are, and then you take that home. And then the question is your companion able to survive these emotions? Now, if you have a very open-minded and flexible companion, yeah. Will there be some tiffs around the road? Absolutely. Will you guys be able to make it survive? Yeah, sometimes. Is it going to cause a good amount of conflict? Yeah. Could it end up in a divorce? Absolutely. Will the kids suffer? Depending on their age. So there are lots of things to consider. I guess the point ultimately is no human dilemma is really easy. They all require a good amount of reflection and thoughtfulness. But you're absolutely right. 2026 women, stay in school, get a job, make lots of money. When you marry, make sure you sign a prenup. And understand that this culture does not produce men who are, mature. So you have to babysit a man for like 10, 15, 20 years. Okay, that's okay. Oscar.
So, why is it that, in general, we're always trying to go against nature? I mean, hasn't nature determined what you are, who you are? And I think, in my opinion, vicious people just come out with these crazy ideas, right? I call them crazy. I'm sorry.
Like
trying
what?
Trying to change the pattern, perhaps, right? Like changing everything that we've been talking about, like these gender ideas or roles or this or that. I mean, the example I want to use is like, for example, my grandparents. They met, they married, they live happily ever after. We don't see that anymore. I'm like on my third divorce, right? So we cannot find that, and it's a lot of times it's because of this bad ideas coming in, right? We have a little too much of something.
One of the nice things about being sick, physically sick, is that you have to be very, very attentive, careful, mindful, aware of what you're putting into your body. Because when you're sick, your body can't digest all the junk that you usually eat. So you go on this diet. And you realize despite all the buffets out there, the only thing you can drink is milk, and the only solid that you can eat is apples. And that's it. And that'll be your diet for the next 20 years, maybe. Okay. In the absence of sickness, everything out there is attractive. I think before the middle class came about and before the middle class became what it is today, I mean, middle class right now is anyone who's making under about $500,000. That's middle class, okay? Before it was about maybe $25,000, $30,000, okay? So with a good amount of power, now you have a lot of options available to you. And I don't think we're the sort of animals who do well under an avalanche of options. It's just too much. You know, when you're single and you happen to have a temperament that what the Greeks would call, it's of ludos, which means lust. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just means that for some strange reason, the way you're wired, you gravitate towards things that are attractive, very much like you gravitate towards those foods that have a lot of sugar in them and you like them, you know? And so what happens with power accompanied with lust is that, and because there are no rail guards, you have a tendency of overeating or overindulging. And that creates its own unique set of illnesses that you don't really understand when you're younger, but you get that when you get a little older, you know. So given the fact that we don't do well with options, then the question is democracy really good? Is capitalism really good? The idea of throwing at people on a daily basis. I mean, look, my phone is fine. I'm sure if I was to take better care of it, it would probably last me another 10, 15, 20 years. But Mark Zuckerberg doesn't care about that. He wants to make sure that I remain forever discontent and unhappy with the things I have. So every 6 months, AT&T comes up with a brand new cell phone. It dances for me, it talks for me, it keeps me, you know, company. And so all of a sudden, this phone that is perfectly fine, now there's another option. And then I, you know, take myself to AT&T, I give my almost brand new cell phone away. I have to sign a brand new contract that's going to hold me hostage for another like 2 years, pay about $300 a month. And for what? Because there is something about market research. Make people lazy, you know, make people addicted to temptation, to a sort of gratification that can be easily acquired, and then sell them things. And I think this is not even at the time of Mahatma Gandhi, but he had made so many wonderful observations about modern world. It just fails to make us happy.
So you think the thing with human nature?
Oh, that's what markets are there for, to understand how a certain community functions.
So that's why it's important to have control over how,
You have zero control.
you know?
No,
Sure.
absolutely.
So why there's therapies of there?
I'm sorry?
Why do we have therapies of there?
Well, you go with the intention of having control. And the way you can have control is by having your therapist sell you new narratives, that you assume those narratives to be healthy. In other words, if I have father issues, okay, that's my addiction. I am always angry at my dad. There comes a point where I say, I just don't want to live in this neighborhood anymore. I go seek out a therapist. And what the therapist will do is bring out my story, force them into my face. I'm going to react. And then if my therapist is any good, eventually he or she will say, okay, now detach yourself from that narrative, detach yourself from those emotions generated by those narratives. Look at these stories. Look at the way they make you feel. Is this how you want to live? What the narratives will do is will create enough reflectiveness on my part, awareness on my part, guilt on my part, shame on my part. So every time the old stories come out to consume me like an avalanche, awareness will all of a sudden come in. So what you're basically doing in a therapy session is you're selling or giving away one narrative and you're buying another, okay? And if you're able to have that narrative inside you, okay, and if you're able to have that narrative become applicable, then yes, you could have the illusion that you have power. But the thing is, that power was given to you by another human being through 10 years of hard work.
I heard that the power of control, you can only have it inside of you.
No.
Of course, outside is an illusion.
Do people want a divorce? No. Why don't they summon up their will and resolve the conflicts? Because it's not about willpower. It's about your emotions. Willpower has to do with your rationality. Life is mostly about the emotions. We are all emotional junkies. You know? Is it true that at a certain point people come to this mature stage where can they exercise willpower? Yeah, absolutely. Does it take work? Definitely. Does it require the healthy emotion of shame, guilt, repentance? Yeah. Can I tell you a story? It's very, very, very short. You guys have heard of, what's your name? So, you know, Carlos Castaneda worked with this man for a number of years. You know how many times he did psychedelics? Maybe 5 times. Do you know why? The main purpose of giving Carlos Castaneda psychedelic, or having him experience psychedelics, is to show him a part of himself that he had never experienced before. And once he saw that part, he also saw the potential. And once he saw the potential, you know what his teacher did? No more psychedelics for the rest of your life. You know what therapy does? Therapy shows you a side of yourself that remains hidden because of the abuse of history. Your therapist, again, if he or she is any good, brings out this part of you that you never knew existed, that you have the ability to actually control your emotions, to look at your emotions, to not have them push you around. Once you see that, it's like you have seen the kingdom of God within. But that doesn't mean that you're going to stay in that kingdom. It means that life will push you back into the old life. But when you go back to the old life, you go back with a part of you that didn't exist before but now does. So every time the old part shows its face, this new part says, will yourself out of it. Now, if you have the tools, there's a good chance you may be able to. If you don't have the tools, it just stays there as imagination. Oliver. Isabel. Better.
Well, circling back to technology, it sounds like you might agree with the Kaczynski proverb, if you will, that the Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been exacerbated in this, while increasing life expectancy and other such advancements in first world countries and cause greater suffering in third world countries. Would you say that certain terroristic actions, such as those of like Kaczynski, the Weather Underground, those against the doctrine of capitalism, are justifiable or virtuous, and it's like morality as subjective to each individual?
Did he use the word terrorism because I'm from the Middle East? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Tyler. Just playing with you. So let me tell you what's been happening at Peralta the last maybe few days. When students turn in their assignments on Canvas, Canvas has this filtration system. It checks all the assignments to see if they've been generated by AI. And it's really good at catching. And 99% of the time it's quite accurate. Okay. So even if someone comes to you and says, no, I wrote this, the truth is they didn't. But that's besides the point. Is it great that now we have technology, we can text, we can email, we can do our stuff on a laptop as opposed to handwrite them? Yeah. Is it true that we can offer online classes where you as a student can sit home in your underwear and just do the work without ever walking out of your room? Absolutely, it's great. Is it true that you have access to the internet, you can gain more knowledge as to what's happening around the world? Yeah. But the very system that creates technology and the very instructors that promote it, bringing technology into the classroom, are now complaining. Students are dumber. Nobody really writes their own work. No one really thinks. No one reflects. No one reads. And you got to see these emails, man. They're like 50, 60 pages long. Every instructor complains now. Is there a way we can stop this? And the answer is no. Am I glad that I was in the hands of a surgeon who was very proficient? Yeah. Am I glad that I am living in the 21st century and not the 18th century? Yeah, because 18th century I would have probably died. 21st century, I can probably live another few years longer. Okay. Is technology a double-edged sword? Absolutely. Is it good if it falls in the hands of people who can think well as to how it should be used? Yeah. Will it create damage if it hands in the hands of someone? I have a friend. He was a truck driver from a certain part of Africa. And poor people are very frugal, And so he made over $300,000. When I met him some 30, 40 years ago, you know what I told him? Invest in a house. Invest in a house. Invest in a house. No, 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 no. Then he had a friend. One day he came to pay us a visit. We asked him, how much money you got? Oh, I got about 150,000. In the 70s and 80s, that's like being a billionaire. Invest in a house. Fine. From one house, he went to two. From two, he went to three. Now he rents. He's like a 90-year-old man now, and you need that retirement money. So what you have, two people, okay, same amount of money. One person lacks the education, how he or she should spend this money. Puts it in a bank, gets almost zero interest. And money, if it's not flowing like a river, it just disappears. This other fellow, same culture, relatives, but his mind is educated slightly differently. Okay? He takes a risk and it pays off. And I guess the point I'm trying to make, it's true with everything. Okay? That, look, if you have a brother who happens to be a professional drinker, and you were once a professional drinker, but because of the losses that you suffered, and because of the pain caused by those losses, and because of your desire to become healthy again, I mean, that's various stages you go through, right? And then you see your brother drink. And every time he wants a drink, he has to pay like 10, 15 bucks. You've been educated through pain and suffering. He hasn't gone through that. You know the value of your kidneys. He doesn't yet. You know the value of time, of youth, of money. He doesn't have any of those things. So one could say that you're educated and he's not, at least in the realm of money and drinking. Okay. Technology is very much the same. Will it help you do some research about Aristotle? Yeah. Will it also help you in writing an AI-generated essay? The answer is yes. And the truth is, I can't stop you unless you are really, really passionate about wanting to understand what happiness is and how it looks like, both theoretically and practically. And the truth is, if you're not at that particular stage in your life, there isn't much anyone can do. Okay, so we'll create some more filters to obstacle students from using AI for essays. But it's going to be short-lived, because students are clever. The system out there is clever. It will always create a way to have some robot, write essays for you. We had a car wash. It used to get broken into every other day. We did all sorts of things. But the truth is, if someone wants to break in, they'll find a way to break in. At a certain point, you have to kind of just throw your hands up and say, you know what, I've done the best I could. If it gets broken into, it gets broken into. What can I do? Is money good? Absolutely. But when it becomes the main focus of your life, well, then your wife is going to be dismissed. You're not going to spend too much time with your kids. They're going to suffer. Eventually you're going to suffer because when you get sick, they're not going to come visit you. I don't know if you know the life story of Cristiano Ronaldo or even Mike Tyson. I mean, you're poor, right? Mike Tyson is poor. Ronaldo is poor. All of a sudden, they become billionaires. But they're uneducated. You know, so he buys like 50 Ferraris. The fuck do you need all these Ferraris for? You know, you have like 1,000 like Gucci watches or Rolex. Why? What's that for? I mean, and that's because, you know, you forget your past, you forget how it feels to be poor. So, Oliver, black looks good on you. Shakira. Anything? Yeah. Heriberto.
My question was, you think you have purpose in life?
No.
Or you think life is just like us going through it, having experiences, going through it? So,
Who told you to come to this class or take this class?
nobody.
That's not true.
Well, I guess I took it because of the requirement.
And who said it's a requirement? See, the state gave you a purpose. Your life doesn't belong to you, and neither does mine. If you're, you know, a lion has no need to be trained by anyone or anything. It's a very instinctual animal, and most animals out there are just that. They're governed by their own interior. You and I, no. The only thing you can wish for, and if you're religious, pray for, find someone, if you don't have that person already, mature enough to direct your life, to give you purpose. Angela Davis, you know who she is? Angela Davis is one of the founders of the Black Panthers. She lives maybe 10 doors down from me, 5 doors maybe down from me. I see her once in a while walking her dog, whose name is Seneca, with her partner, Gina. Okay? This is a woman from a very, very young age. She only had one purpose. First, she was black. She understood what it means to be black. She also understood what it means to be black in America. And she was lucky enough where the culture did not create people like Snoop Dogg. You know, rap music was about justice. It was about politics. It was about identity. It wasn't about junk. Okay? If you were to run into her, she would never allow you to have casual conversation. She will give conversation a purpose, a direction, and you're very lucky to have that with her. Because she will pull you out of a 19-year-old mind who thinks about stupid things. Now, if you were to hang out with Angela Davis 3 times a week, I assure you, what you will do is you will have her emotions, her thoughts, her history guide you, as opposed to YouTube. And I think that's a more valuable purpose. And that's subjective, you know. So when you talk about purpose, the question is, well, what's your background? Who's in your life? What do you watch? What do you listen to? What rituals, customs, or narratives exist in your culture? If you got shitty ones, well, that's your culture. That's your purpose. Kind of like what Jessica said, you know, there is a fan above you and there is shit. And if your purpose is shitty, well, you smell like shit. Now, some shit smells good. Malcolm X, that's good shit. Mahatma Gandhi, better shit. Socrates, gold shit. Jesus Christ, man, that's just beautiful shit altogether. You know? So ultimately, you know, your task is to figure out what is attractive to you. That depends on your temperament, your background, a whole host of different things. But But you need to understand, man, the social world is there for one reason, to capture every ounce of space you have in your mind, to sell you junk, to make you attracted to junk. Remember, capitalism will not be able to survive if it's occupied by reflective and thinking people. So in order, hello, Alexis, how are you? Things are good? Have you ever broken up with someone because they were just bad for you? Did you block them? That's your first mistake. You block them. Because every time they call you, you have emotions you don't want to have, right? And you don't want them to give you emotions, and those emotions become on the driver's seat and guide you here and there where you feel exhausted after like 5 hours. Okay? So since human beings cannot survive without relationships, what remains is just pick and choose your relationships very, very carefully, because those relationships eventually will give you purpose and direction. You don't come to this class very often. You have your own reasons. I don't care to know. You're 19, right? You like money? You like stability? You like thinking? Why not major in philosophy?
Okay, sir.
Nobody's sure about any goddamn thing out there, man. You don't need to be sure. You think people don't have doubts before going to the altar and saying, yes, I do? Every married person thinks 50 times before they say yes. None of us can be sure about anything. What I'm trying to get at is the following. You're a 19-year-old punk. You're a nice kid. I'm an immigrant, very much like you. Confused, I was, very much like you. Purposeless, very much like you. What I had was a car, imagination. I would say I could go anywhere, do whatever. It's not true, really. If you do as I say for the next 5 years, 7 years, you will have a master's degree. You don't want to do philosophy, you can do business. But you need my encouragement to stay in school and do well in your classes. When you're 23, you're going to look back and you say, man, I'm only 23, I got a master's degree. That's a hell of a lot of power to have in life at the age of 23. And then you can go to Silicon Valley, get a job at Google. And by the time you're 24, you're going to be making about $200,000 a year. You don't like that? You don't want me to give you a purpose? What, you want to hang out with your loser friends? Is that what you want to do? And that's what I'm talking about, purpose. Nobody's born with a purpose. I'm not a Magnus Carlsen. I don't have a genius inside me. I have zero talent. Most of my life is just luck. If you think you're a great soccer player like Cristiano Ronaldo, more power to you, man. God has given you a gift, a talent. Go out there and blossom it. If on the other hand, you're a regular, normal Joe Doe like me, then you gotta pray, to find yourself lucky in an environment that gives you a purpose that will last for about 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Oliver. Sebastian. Alex. Ari. How about yesterday? Avi. Matt.
Why not tennis anymore?
Tennis?
Didn't you say you were a tennis star? a hot shot. I
Yeah.
recommended pickleball. You said that's only for old.
I'm an immigrant, man. You know, the arts, sports. You know, you should see some of our musicians. They live in a studio in Los Angeles. Nobody respects them. It's not like here, where you pay billions of dollars to athletes and artists. You know, the only thing our culture really appreciates is education. That's the only thing. Nobody cares how much money you got, but people really care if you're educated and you have a PhD after your name. You know, so when my parents came here and they realized that I play 10 hours of tennis on the court every single day and I drop out of high school, they were horrified. They said, if you don't go back to school, we'll just take you back to Iran. You know, so if you're thinking that you're going to get parents as a Middle Eastern who's going to support you in your journey towards becoming a great pianist or a great tennis player, it doesn't work that way for us. You know, and thank God for that. I mean, I look at my life, it's not too bad. You know, it's a fun sport. Tennis is really reserved for people who are not very social and they don't do well in a team. You know, so it's a very isolated game where you have this enormous competitive drive inside you and you want the attention all to yourself. And that's what tennis does. You know, there's only Bjorn Borg and John McEnroe. These are the only two players you're going to watch. You know, sometimes you have someone like Magic Johnson or Kobe Bryant. You go watch the Lakers game, but you don't go to see all the 11 players or 20 players. You only go there to see Kobe. You know, sometimes there are sports where only one single person shines and the rest are there just there to help, to assist. So, anyways, Ari.
What I mean is, why don't you stay play tennis?
Still play tennis?
Like, when you get done here, you can go to the courts and just.
Oh, I'm not interested.
No?
No.
It's not fun?
I just want to be left alone.
Sounds perfect.
Thank you. Shakira.
Trying to have something that trying to figure out a way to phrase it. Alright. Okay, so this has to do with, so you said that our purposes or our purpose could be influenced and created by our culture, right?
It is.
Okay. Now, when we were talking about the roles of men versus women, right? Would you say that, like, that influences the way we take our roles as men and women more? You know, like, does that make a difference if we're here in America? You know, if we are more inclined to like diversity and inclusion and things like that, with culture, do you think culture influences us more here when it comes to those roles?
Imagine that I was interested in you and you were interested in me. At a certain point, I'm going to take you home and introduce you to my family. You got to dress a certain way. And you have to speak a certain way. I'm not willing to worry my parents. You're going to be subjected to my culture and my ways. And the flip side is also true. If I'm dressed a certain way or speak a certain way or smell a certain way and you want to introduce me to your family, well, there's a certain code that exists in your family. And if I like you enough, respect you enough, and want to be with you, I will abide by the guidelines you set forth. You know, if on the other hand, you got no mom, no dad, I got no mom, no dad, I don't give a shit about anyone, and you're very much like me, just a non-give-a-shitter, not shit giver, right? Then whatever, it makes no difference. Now look, it may be that I fall in love with you and you fall in love with me, and one of the things that love does, it blinds me to all the differences that exist in you and me and cultural differences. And love will eventually push us towards the altar. I'll marry you, marry me. The problem with relationships under the same roof is that little by little, as we become more comfortable, your culture is going to come out to the surface, and my culture is going to come to the surface. And these two cultures are going to collide. I want my life to be a certain way. You want your life to be a certain way. Okay? And one of us needs to sacrifice. Now, given the fact that you're manly and I'm manly, we're going to fight this out. If there is no resolution, you'll go your way, I'll go mine. And then you can find yourself another man or woman or a dog or a cat, and I'll do the same. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, I gotta go to my next class.
What do you mean?
I have my next class.
Yeah, well, I understand. It's good to see you, Will. Well, it's good to see all of you. Have a nice weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Thank you. Huh? Oh, Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you. You too. Thanks.
I kind of feel bad because
You got what?
I kind of feel bad
For what?
because I turned in my paper and it was 16 pages long. And I'm not sure if like that's way longer than everybody else has.
16 pages. No, that's really good. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I tried to.
Thank you. Thank you, Oliver.
It's my first paper that I wrote without a.
I appreciate
was
that.
really
Thank you.
proud of myself.
Good. I look forward to reading it. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, great class.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Is Angela Davis really a neighbor?
Yeah. I haven't seen her for a while. Bye, Isabel. I haven't seen her. She's always like going and giving talks.
Well,
And she makes like 10, 15, 20, 30,000 every time she goes on the podium and talks for 10 minutes.
yeah. Well, I guess that gets my follow-up question. I was going to ask how much coffee would it take to introduce me to your neighbor, but if you
Yeah,
never see her.
yeah, you know, I see her once in a while. She's about 80. Thank you, Alex. She's about 80 some. Thank you. She doesn't come out as much.
Hmm.
You know, yeah. But just in case I see her, I'll mention. I'll see what she says.
Cool. Yeah. No. Hang on. I need help there.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Thank
Thank you for the coffee, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So yesterday, when I just moved,
Yeah.
and my new housemate, he's like 100 years old, 90, but he does qigong in the park over there in the mornings. I went yesterday. You might want to try it.
Does he have family?
7:27 in the morning.
Does he have family?
Yeah, he's got a ton of family.
Oh. Well, see if he can put you in his will.
That's a tomorrow thought. But yeah, 7:27 to 8:30 every morning right over here.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not think I would sweat. I did not think I would have sore muscles.
But you do.
Just standing in the park doing this shit to some weird set playing. But
Okay.
I know you're already here in the
I am.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Amir. It's good to see you.